Look at that booty displayed in the position. What a whore. Hello everybody, my name is Jojo and I am a Chason main. As of right now, I have Chason at Prestige 54, and I am putting more and more time and effort into playing Chason every single day, slowly but surely testing everything that you can do with the character, trying my absolute best to go out of my way to be one of the best Chason players I can. And much like what happens very often when a content creator specializes in one individual killer, the question of what builds do you recommend often come up for this character. So today I thought I would give you guys the 6 builds that I have in my preset role that I just kind of swap between whenever I'm feeling like playing Chason. I'm also going to give you some tips for how to actually play these builds, you know, what playstyle you should implement, as well as substitutions that you can make in each build going forward. This is not a showcase video. This is not here for the purposes of showing you how the build works. This is simply giving you the build and the tools that you need to actually make each build work. Okay, so we're going to go through these 6. The only reason I'm not doing 7 total is because my last one is just kind of there for build requests, so if people want me to play a certain build, they can redeem it on stream, and that's what this slot is for. So here we go, 6 total builds for Chason. All right, let's get started. So the very first build that I ever came up with Chason should be pretty obvious. Anybody who has watched me for a long time knows that I love in-game builds. They're one of my favorite types of builds to do. I don't know what it is. Whenever I got the Dracula's Alucard Shield add-on, I about fucking, you know, pissed my pants with excitement. It was so fun. So of course I went with an in-game build the second that I saw the Burnt Fuse add-on. Now the Burnt Fuse add-on is a very rare add-on, so it's a purple from Chason, obviously. What the fuck? So it's a purple, and whenever you impale a survivor with a hook spike, and for 5 seconds after they extract the spike, the exit gates are blocked for them and any survivors within 13 meters. I usually pair this with the add-on Dirty Money because this add-on gains power as the match goes on, so you're able to just kind of break a pallet or vault a window or whatever, or a breakable wall even, and get spikes as you need them throughout the match, because like with most in-game builds, this relies very, very heavily on having a strong mid-game. A lot of people think that you can just slap on an in-game build and then do absolutely nothing all match. No, you need to have a strong mid-game, otherwise the in-game, no matter what happens, is not really going to matter. So with that in mind, we're going to be running 2 perks that rely on you hooking each and every survivor one time during the match. That's going to be the most common in-game perk, No Way Out. So for each survivor you hook, individual ones, you get 1 token up to 4. When the generators are completed and when a survivor goes to touch an exit gate, both gates are blocked for 12 seconds plus an additional 12 seconds per token. That leads to a total of 60 seconds, a full minute where they cannot even begin to open the exit gates. I also like to pair this with the Ghoul perk, which is None Are Free. I forgot to mention that No Way Out does come from the Trickster. I also like to pair this with the Ghoul perk, which is None Are Free. So None Are Free works on the same concept. Each survivor that you hook, you gain a token. That has to be each individual survivor. And then at the end of the match, for each token, all upright pallets and windows are blocked for 16 seconds. So 4 tokens is going to lead you to 64 seconds of all of these things being blocked. It makes it way easier to catch survivors when they have no resources to work with. You can just W key after them. Next up, we're going to be running Remember Me from Freddy Krueger or the Nightmare. Whenever the obsession takes damage, you gain a token up to 5, and then for each token, survivors who are not the obsession open the gates 30% slower. It is insane. I think the max amount of time it takes a survivor to open the gate is like a minute and a half. Probably a little bit less than that. I'd have to go back and actually look at the mathematical numbers, but it's at least a minute. It takes at least a minute for them to fully open the gate, which is a huge jump from fucking 20 seconds. It takes an absurdly long time. It's really, really slow. But this does mean that you're going to have to tunnel the obsession out because it works on survivors who are not the obsession. The obsession completely ignores this penalty. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. And finally, I like to run Blood Warden. Once an exit gate is opened and once per trial, when you hook a survivor, both exit gates are blocked for 60 seconds. This gives you that extra little bit of time that you need in the end to do whatever it is you need to do. And if you haven't been able to activate Blood Warden yet and they're making their way to the gates, then that's what these are for. So let's talk about playstyle with this build, and then I'll give you a couple of substitutions for this build to work. So the playstyle with this build is to have as strong of a mid game or even early game as you possibly can. You want to, as fast as you can, get at least one individual hook on all 4 survivors, because you want these 2 perks charged by the time the last gen pops. None are free will happen the moment the last gen pops. However, if you've got a little bit of time before they go to touch an exit gate, you can theoretically get the stacks that you need to trigger No Way Out, okay? But obviously you don't want to risk that, so make sure you get each individual survivor hooked before the last generator pops. While you're in the process of doing that, you're going to be attempting to tunnel out the obsession. The obsession has to die, right? So yes, your focus is the 4 individual hooks, but more importantly, you're going to want to slow those exit gates down, because you want it to take as long as humanly possible. So in the process, or even after you get all 4, you need to focus on the obsession completely. If you've got all 4 tokens for the None Are Free and No Way Out, then just focus the obsession. Hard focus the obsession, get them out of the game, get them dead, because you need them absolutely dead once you've got your 5 stacks with that. On top of that, Blood Warden is going to be your bread and butter for when the exit gates actually finally get open, because there is a very good chance they will eventually break through these 2 slowdowns, so we need to keep them in the game longer. If you are not able to catch a survivor and get them on the ground and get ready for the Blood Warden proc, then you've got the Burnt Fuse. You need to make sure you have a hook spike at the ready, which means do not kick a pallet or vault and get the Dirty Money proc and then try to impale them. You need to actually have a hook spike and impale the survivor with the hook spike, blocking the gates, so that you can pick them up, carry them over to the hook. If they're not on death hook, the other survivors are more than likely going to try to body block, going to try to save them. You get them on the hook, you trigger your Blood Warden, bada bing, bada boom. So, what are some substitutions that you can run? Well, No Way Out and Remember Me are almost non-negotiable in this build. I do not believe you can have a strong in-game build without these 2 perks. However, both Blood Warden and None Are Free are both things that you can take out of the build if you either personally don't like them or you don't think that they work well with your playstyle. I would not run Noed. Everybody wants to run Noed. Chason is not an M1 killer. Obviously, he has an M1 attack, but most of the time you're going to be spearing survivors. So realistically, what you can do is you can run something like, for example, the Imprinted Aluminum or the Mirror Shards, which will take survivors a longer time to actually heal up, right? If you're running the Mirror Shards, it makes them broken for 40 seconds after they take a hook spike out of them, which means that it takes a longer time for them to actually get healed. Or you can do the Mangled and Hemorrhaged effect by hitting the survivor with a spike from the Imprinted Aluminum. And the reason you would do this is because you can replace either None Are Free or Blood Warden with the perk Terminus from Wesker. Terminus is a better option for M2 killers over Noed. What it does is when all generators completed, any survivor who is injured, downed, or hooked are broken, and then they do not become unbroken until 45 seconds after the gates are opened, right? So if you've got both No Way Out fully charged and Remember Me, all injured survivors and survivors who become injured will become broken for like almost 3 minutes. Like almost 3 minutes of being broken is insane. And if you're running that with anti-heal perks, it makes it harder for them to heal before the end game starts. But even if they do, you're Chason. You've got a ranged attack, and once you're able to land those shots, it's very, very useful. It's very good for you. So you can replace this with Terminus. You can also replace this replace either one of these perks with something like Batteries Included from Chucky. Whenever you are within 16 meters of a completed generator, you gain 5% haste, and then you retain that 5% haste for 5 seconds. This is great for not only capturing survivors in the end game to either get those last couple of death hooks that you've hopefully built up by this point, or getting them away from the gate. If you're choosing to run Blood Warden, it'll help you get to a hook faster even, but it's also good for helping you in the mid game. So in the mid game, when you're trying to build those stacks, build those tokens, gain that pressure, this also gives you a little bit of an extra boost. So those are the substitutions that I would suggest for the end game build, and that's the end game build. So let's go ahead and move on over to the Hex build. So this is the Hex build. A lot of people call it the Hens build, and I mean, it was done from Hin, so what are you gonna do, right? But the hex build is fairly straightforward. You've got two very strong hexes, Hex Ruin from the Hag, which makes it to where when a generator is not being repaired, it will regress naturally, and Hex Blood Favor from the Blight, which makes it to where whenever an injury happens, all upright pallets within 32 meters of the injured survivor are blocked for 15 seconds. You combine that with Thrill of the Hunt, which makes it to where totems take longer to bless or cleanse by 12% for each hex or dull totem that's still on the map, so it takes them a very long time. And you're basically using your Omnipresent Evil to find survivors on the totems, scare them off the totems, and then get into chases here and there. Just gives you a lot of natural slowdown. But even once a totem is cleansed, one at a time, you will light a Pentimento hex, which will force them to get off of generators, go find the Pentimento, and then get rid of it slowly but surely. And if they don't, then they're going to be repairing the generator slower anyway. This is basically forcing the survivors into a big time investment off of generators. I'm going to tell you off the bat, number one, your add-ons really don't matter. I like to run Deputy's Badge and Bloody Smile. Bloody Smile is one of my favorite Jason add-ons. It just gives you a larger detection range. So when you're patrolling the totems, you don't have to get as close to them. You could just kind of do a little flyby and you'll be able to see if someone's on them. So I guess if I were to recommend an add-on, it would be Bloody Smile. But generally speaking, this is a build that only works well if, one, the survivors don't bring some anti-hex stuff, which recently they have been doing a lot of that, and two, you are efficient in your chases, right? If you do not get an injure or a strong pallet or a down / hook within the first like 10 to 15 seconds of a chase, you normally probably kind of have to leave and you have to go check on your totem. So if you're constantly finding yourself getting in the chases and then having to drop them within the first 15-20 seconds because you can't get anything done, you're missing your spikes left and right, this build is not going to do that much for you. And so I want you to remember that when it comes to the play style. Now, you can theoretically replace Pentimento with something like Undying from the Blight, which basically gives one of your totems a second life. This will cause the survivors to have to spend a little bit more extra time cleansing. If you just really don't want to run Pentimento, then this is an okay choice. You could also, if you wanted to, substitute either Ruin or Blood Favor with Hive Mind, although I really don't recommend doing that, but it is a decent hex for you to run if you wanted to do that. Other than that, there's not really a lot of substitutions, and this did not take me nearly as long as the in-game build, so let's go ahead and move on to my main build. So this is the main build that I use with Jason. I typically will swap out the add-ons here and there. There's no real add-on requirements when it comes to this. I did a full add-on tier list video recently that you can check out, although Sauna Rock has unfortunately dropped significantly. It used to be kind of middle of the road. Now it's almost useless because behavior sucks at balancing, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that this is the build. So for generator slowdown, we're going to be running Turn Back the Clock, which is a Teemu Vecna perk. Anytime you hook a survivor, you have 60 seconds to hit a alternate action button, which you can set in the keybinds, and make a generator that is in your line of sight within 20 meters explode and lose 10%. This basically removes the time investment from kicking a generator. It's really good with Jason. You know, you hook a survivor and you know what generators are at the most progress because of Hive Mind, which we'll talk about in a moment. You Omnipresent Evil over to that, you come out, they go, ah! They get off the generator, you go boom, you blow it up, and you keep chasing them without having to waste any time. Turn Back the Clock's just a really good perk. It's probably one of the best killer perks ever released in the game. And then the other slowdown is Scourge Hook Pain Resonance, which is the artist. We should mostly be familiar with this perk by now. Whenever you hook a survivor on a Scourge Hook for the first time, so each individual survivor, the generator with the most progress will explode for 20% and start regressing, and then the survivor who's repairing it screams. Then for information, we're going to be running Hex Hive Mind, again from Teemu Vecna. Whenever you hook a survivor for the first time, a totem ignites, and then the auras of all generators show their progress based off of color intensity. So whatever, they start off white, and then they slowly move toward the color of the aura that you have selected for the generator. And then whenever it gets down to where the survivors only have to repair one more generator, all generators explode, lose 10% of their progress, and then the hex totem goes away and you can no longer see the progress. So this is both a combination of info and, if it stays up for long enough, also a little bit of slowdown. Although typically I've seen it cleansed within, I'd say probably the first 3 generators popping. Generally around generator 2, the hex will be cleansed, although sometimes it's happened to generator 4. So I wouldn't put too much reliance on this perk. It is extremely volatile, but it is still very good. And because you can see the auras of generators in your Omnipresent Evil, it's really good info. Friends Till the End is my personal favorite info perk in the game. Whenever you hook a survivor that's not the obsession becomes exposed for 20 seconds and you see their aura for 10 seconds. And then when you hook a survivor who is the obsession, another random survivor on the map will scream, become the obsession, and so you can go over there. This basically is just kind of a one to the next, to the next, to the next kind of perk. It always gives you an idea of where you need to go. So if you don't have Hive Mind up, or if Hive Mind got cleansed, or maybe you're looking around and all of the gens have like a pretty low progress, so you don't need to go check on any of them, then Friends Till the End will tell you where to go next. It also often helps with finding the last survivor on the map, although some survivors have learned that you can counter this by simply getting in a locker when the other person is about to get hit. But other than that, I really enjoy this build. I understand that there are 3 licensed perks in this build, so in terms of like substitutions you can make, for Hex Hive Mind, the substitutions would be something like Surveillance from the Pig, which does something very similar. When a generator stops regressing, you see its aura for 16 seconds, and then you can hear generators being repaired from further away, which doesn't matter all that much, but sometimes it does, you know. So this does a very similar effect to where you see the generators that survivors are working on. You could also do something like Discordance from the Legion. Again, similar effect. You see which generators survivors are typically working on, if there's more than one actually repairing the generator. So it's just kind of good to have. Other than those 2, you're not really going to find another perk that does, you know, something like this. Friends Till the End, you can substitute with something like Spies from the Shadows. This is a proximity perk, so any survivors that scare a crow within 36 meters of you will give you a loud noise notification. You can see where they're at, and you can immediately go over to them. You could also do something like Barbecue and Chili from the Cannibal. Whenever you hook a survivor, all survivors outside of a 40-meter radius reveal their auras to you for 5 seconds. If you're really pining, you could do something like Alien Instinct. Whenever you hook a survivor, the furthest injured survivor from you gains Oblivious for 60 seconds, and you see their aura for 8 seconds. These are all very viable replacements for information. In terms of slowdown, there's a lot that you can use. Basically, as long as it's passive slowdown, you don't have to kick a gen or anything. It could probably work very well. So things like Dead Man Switch, Grim Embrace is a really good one for Jason. You can use that because you can get away from the hooks very far. And then Grim Embrace also doubles as an info perk on the 4th hook, as long as the 4th one isn't your obsession. So, you know, that could work very well. If you wanted to go with gen kicking, I would recommend doing something like Eruption and Pop Goes the Weasel, so that you can get a lot of big bursts of slowdown onto the gens if you're doing them both at the same time. But those are my recommendations for things that you can substitute, and this is the build that I like to run whenever I'm just like not sure what I want to run. It's just an all-around good build. Next up is what I have lovingly dubbed the Chason build. This is a build that is honestly just a brainless build. You are literally, your entire job is just to find survivor, chase survivor until they're down. This is a turn off your brain, don't do anything kind of build. We're going to be running the Spirit Fury Enduring combo, or Enduring Fury is it called. So Enduring from the Hillbilly makes it to where whenever your pallet's stunned, it takes 50% less time. So it goes from 3 seconds to 1 or something like that. And then Spirit Fury, after you break 2 pallets, which your Omnipresent Evil break does charge this perk. Okay, so if you come out of Omnipresent Evil and you break a pallet, it does work. It charges the pallet, and then whenever you're stunned, that pallet is automatically destroyed. So you run these 2 so you could just kind of walk through pallets every 2 pallets you break. Bamboozle, is from the clown. Whenever you vault a window, it is blocked for survivors for 16 seconds, and you basic vault 15% faster. You can only block one window at a time, but this does work with Omnipresent Evil. The vault speed doesn't increase, but if you vault a window with Omnipresent Evil, it does block that window for 16 seconds, so that's really good. And then we've got Brutal Strength to just kind of basic break pallets really fast. I mean, you don't want to go into Omnipresent Evil and then come out of it every single time you want to break a pallet. This does not work with the Omnipresent Evil break, but it is just, you know, as you're walking through, and it works really well. For add-ons, Dirty Money and Imprinted Aluminum are pretty good. You could also run Mirror Shards to keep survivors injured for longer. That's kind of the point of these two. If you really wanted, you could run something like Boat Motor, which allows you to block more windows, although it's not that great of a perk. 2 Nails will give you some significant aura reading on survivors. Bloody Smile will help you find the survivors faster. You can kind of jump around with add-ons in terms of this build. Like I said, the playstyle of this build is very fast, very turn your brain off. I'm not going to mind game pallets or windows. I don't give a fuck. It's not the best build in the world because it doesn't have any slowdown or information or anything. But other than that, it is pretty good. Next up is the Terror Radius build. This is quite possibly the worst Jason build in the game. It's very bad. It's absolutely horrible. I did an entire video on this build. Basically, the way it works is you're constantly trying to bounce your terror radius around and then cause problems with your terror radius. So you want to run something. First off, missing corkscrew is instrumental to this build. Whenever you impale a survivor, the survivor emits a 32-meter terror radius until they pull the hook spike out, and then you gain undetectable from the time a survivor is impaled until 13 seconds after they pull the spike out. So you're undetectable for a very long time, which doesn't matter that much on Jason. It's more of giving your terror radius to a survivor and kind of scaring the other survivors. And then we have 2 more perks to throw our terror radius around. We've got Unforeseen from the Unknown. Kick a generator for 30 seconds. That generator has your terror radius. You're undetectable. And then after that's done, it goes on cooldown for another 30 seconds. And then Dark Devotion, whenever the Obsession takes any kind of damage from a spike, from an M1, whatever the case may be, for 45 seconds, they gain a 40-meter terror radius, and then you gain undetectable. Now, unfortunately, I did find out recently that if you've got Unforeseen on a generator and you trigger Dark Devotion, these do not both trigger at the same time and give you 2 terror radiuses. However, Corkscrew does give a second terror radius. So if you impale a survivor with Corkscrew and then hit the Obsession, you have 2 terror radiuses on the map. Personally, I think behavior should make it to where these two work in tandem, and you can always have 2 terror radiuses because that would be fun and interesting. I digress, however. Septic Touch is a perk that, honestly, I'm probably going to tell you can substitute, but whenever a survivor in the terror radius is healing, they gain blindness and exhausted, and then it continues after 30 seconds after they finish healing. And then Corlophobia makes it harder for them to heal in your terror radius. They heal slower, and then the skill checks are 50% faster. So it's faster, harder to hit, harder to heal. You combine that with something like the Mangled and Hemorrhage effect from Imprinted Aluminum, and all of a sudden it becomes a gigantic pain in the ass to try to heal within the terror radius, which your terror radius will be everywhere. Again, this is not a good build by any means. If you were going to make any substitutions, I would probably swap out... Okay, I just don't know how to spell. That's what that is. If you're going to make any substitutions, I would take Septic Touch out and put on something like Unnerving Presence. Whenever the survivors get a skill check within your terror radius, they get more skill checks, and then the good zone of the basic skill checks is smaller, so it's harder to hit. You can actually combine Unnerving Presence with Corlophobia for almost guaranteed misses while they're healing. Oh, I just got an idea for a build. I'm gonna have to figure out what killer I want to put that on. Don't worry about it, but expect a video on a really stupid build soon. I'll keep you guys updated. Anyway, so the playstyle with this is to essentially just throw your terror radius around and hope for the best. Honestly, there's not much else you could do. The Undetectable is nice, but you already have the Undetectable in your Omnipresent Evil, so it's not terribly exciting, but it can be a little bit fun here and there. You could also replace this with mirror shards if you wanted to, but the aluminum works better with the thematic of the build. Finally, we have what I like to call the Sniper Jason build. This is also just straight up aura reading, but the way that this build works is you are just going for cool shots. I honestly highly recommend this build if you want to learn how to hit more elaborate spike shots with Jason. This gives you the opportunity to practice more of those threading the needle, you know, long shots that you can do with him. We're going to be running Lethal Pursuer from the Nemesis to give us opening aura reading at the beginning of the match, but more importantly, every aura reading effect that we have is extended by 2 seconds, so we have a little bit more time to line up our shots and see where the survivors are going and things like that. Barbecue and Chili makes it to where whenever you hook a survivor, survivors outside of 40 meters of your terror radius are revealed for 5 seconds, 7 with lethal. So again, just gives us a little bit more time. We see where they're at. We can try to line up the shot, see what we can do. Thwack, whenever you break a pallet, and this includes when you come out of Omnipresent Evil, all survivors within 36 meters of you will scream and reveal their aura for 6 seconds, 8 with Lethal Pursuer. And then Floods of Rage, whenever a survivor is unhooked from a Scourge hook, all survivors that were not unhooked just now, so the other 3, will reveal their auras to you for 7 seconds, 9 with Lethal Pursuer. And again, the play style is pretty fucking straightforward, guys. I don't need to keep explaining it to you. Then we're going to be running 2 nails, spikes that come within 1 meter of a survivor reveal their aura for 5 seconds, 7 with Lethal Pursuer. This is good for, you know, if you barely miss. This is also really good. One of the things I like about this is that, like, if you know where a survivor is and you try to like line your shot up and you throw it and you miss them, if their aura comes up, that means that you barely miss them, and it helps teach you a little bit more about how to angle your shots. I've actually used this to improve a lot of my shots. It's really cool. But also, if you hit a survivor, it helps you keep track of where they're going. So whether you're going for long sniper shots or you're just tracking them through like a jungle gym or something, it's just really good. It is legitimately legitimately just a really good add-on in general. And then we have Party Noisemaker. Party Noisemaker, whenever you break a pallet or a breakable wall with Jump Scare, the auras of all survivors further than 28 meters are revealed for 6 seconds. Just a general aura reading perk. The only substitution that I will ever suggest here, and it's I jump between these two, is to run Jagged Compass in place of Thwack, especially because Party Noisemaker just got that really good update that reduced the meter range. So now anytime you know, omnipresent into a breakable wall or pallet, boom, you just kind of see everything. Not everything, but you see more of the survivors, more of the map. So this is still good. You can take off Thwack. Jagged Compass makes it to where every unhook is a Floods of Rage unhook, with the added bonus that you see which generator has the most progress, so you can still try for those long shots even without seeing aura. And because you're running 2 nails, if you barely miss on the generator, you'll know. But yeah, that is 6 builds that I regularly swap through for Jason. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your Jason builds in the comment section down below. Maybe I'll do a video where I like try your Jason builds. I don't know. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.